Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group 5. We're gonna present our project now. Before that, I'm gonna introduce myself. My name is Ahmad Rafly.
My name is Deano Amor.
My name is Irvin Zavdiel. So, for this project, I'm going to start by explaining what is IP. The general knowledge about IP is called Internet Protocol, or IP address, Internet Protocol address. It's a numerical label assigned to each device connected to a computer network that uses Internet Protocol communication. IP address serves two main functions. The first one is to host, and the second one is to location addressing. So for the more specific one, the function is that to host it means it identifies the host. More specifically is its network interface. And the second one is that it provides location of the host in the network. Thus, the capability of establishing a path to the host. Like if you can type into Google and just search IP address, you can see there is like a 32-bit number of your IP address. And that means it's your address for your computer or gadget. The second one is the location services. Location services are also IP address function, as it also gives the location of where you are accessing the internet. And then next point I'm going to tell you is that the IP version. There are two main versions that called the IP4 and the IP6. IPv6. So there's the IPv4 is called Internet Protocol version 4, and the second one Internet Protocol version 6. And the original version of Internet Protocol are first deployed in 1983. So these two version protocol are in simultaneous use. Among other technical, each person defines the format of address differently because of the historical prevalence of IPv4. The generic term IP address typically still refers to the address defined by IPv4. And then I'm gonna put something a bit, and that is subnetworking. IP networks may be divided into subnetworks in both IPv4 and IPv6. For this purpose, an IP address is recognized as consisting of two parts: the network prefix, the high order and remaining bits, used for host numbering and used for host numbering with a network.
Done, Irvin.
Yes, I'm done.
Okay, I will tell you about why we using Star Topology, and by using the Star Topology, it can be used for many computer device. If damage occurs, then maintenance will be easier to do. You only need to see the condition of the cables, hubs or switch, or directory from the server condition. If there is an error client computer, it will not affect other client. The resulting network speed is the same between each client computer and the central server. In its application can use several different types of cable. For example, if certain client computer required different types of cable, and the last, if you want to add a client computer, you don't need to reinstall all of the connected computers.
Now let's talk about subnet mask. Subnet mask is a term that distinguish network ID and host ID, or to determine the portion of the network ID and host ID in a row of binary code. The function itself is to distinguish the network ID from host ID and determine the destination address of the data packet, whether it's local or it's remote. What is network ID and host ID? Network ID is part of the IP address that serves to indicate on the network where the computer or the device is located, while the host ID shows the server, router, workstation, and other TCP/IP hosts that are in the network. There are two ways to represent this subnet mask, namely dotted decimal notation and prefix length notation. Expressing a subnet mask is usually inside dotted decimal notation. In Indonesian, dotted decimal. The same thing as the IP address. After all, the bits are set as the part of the network ID and host ID, and the resulting 32-bit value is converted to dotted decimal notation. Even though the method is present as dotted decimal notation, the subnet mask is not an IP address. IP address classes are the basis of the default subnet mask. Also, the subnet mask is the same as prefix. What is the prefix? Prefix is some kind of limit to how many bits of an IP address that is part of the network ID. Network prefix notation is also known as CIDR, classless inter-domain routing notation. The bit value in the subnet mask are defined by RFC 950 rules as follows. All the bits that intended to be used as network identifier are set to value 1, and so also all the bits intended to use by host identifier are set to 0.
Okay, I will show you about the design. Before I will close my camera. Okay, this is the star topology, and you can see the IP address is 192.168.1.1, and this is the first client, and this is the second client, 192.168.1.2, and if you I will try to ping to okay, works, but it works until I ping the IP until 106. Okay, maybe this is our presentation. Thank you for watching. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.